Hi, everyone. This is Abhishek from shakethecosmos.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe or follow button so you don't miss out on the episodes which are released every Tuesday. Also, rate this episode. That helps me appear in organic searches. I'm excited about the conversation today where I'm talking with Nicole. She was actually one of the first people I sat down with when I was starting to do podcasting. And Nicole's always had a knack for finding holes in systems. She looks at a situation, takes everything into consideration, and creates a whole approach to a solution. Her own struggles with finding her passion and calling motivated her to help others. She knew a solution was needed to address the biggest question we all face. What do I want to do with my life? It had to be a solution that was congruent with all the intricate parts of what makes us who we are, the lifestyle we want to create, and how our choices impact relationships in our lives. For the past decade, Nicole's been submerged in research and development for the curriculum that uncovers the intricate parts of who we are and how to pair our innate gifts with career and life choices. She founded growmyfuture.org, which trains high school educators to deliver a curriculum that empowers youth to design their lives with tools that foster self-discovery. After many years of adult asking if she had any resources available to help them discover their career and life path, she decided to write Vekita Full Potential. Nicole is a multidisciplinary strategist with an accomplished track record in roles involving trust-based relationships, leading entrepreneurial vision into implementation, and advancing individual success with career goals. She's a successful entrepreneur, business consultant, and educator. She's led workshops for over Fortune 500 companies, taught internationally, has been hired to advise numerous startups. Well, really appreciate your time today, Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, we're going to get right into it. I'm excited about this book that you recently released, and would love to get into what are some of the things, some of the stories people are telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I recently released Vekita Full Potential, which is a guidebook that helps people get clear on their career and life choices. So it can be applied to a lot of different types of people, whether you're first going into your first job, or whether you're wanting to transition careers, or maybe even like leveling up where you're currently at as well. There's lots of different uses for this, because really what it is helping people discover the basic foundation of who they are. And from there, they can apply that in just about all different aspects of life. So,
and I can't think of another important time to be having this conversation and this book that you're released than now, because I mean, a lot of people are going through a lot of transitional time right now.
Absolutely. It is such a pivotal time, and it is the perfect time to be going through this. I think that we all have a little bit of a pause, even though it feels probably pretty chaotic for people right now, that there is that pause. And if you just take the time and invest that time, it's so important. And unfortunately, the issue is, I think with some people, it's hard to invest time in ourselves. It's so much easier to invest our time in other people. And I think that's just a basic fundamental human nature thing that we do. It's like if somebody asks for a favor for you to go and do something for them, easily you'll go and do that and help them out. But then if you have to do something for yourself, you don't jump on it right away. You don't address it with the same amount of energy. So I think it's important to kind of bring our focus and attention to that as being a fundamental human thing and not get upset with ourselves. But with going through a guidebook like this, I think it's really important to then, be conscious that this is so essential and important for you, for the foundation of understanding who you are and setting up the life that you want that is going to be fulfilling. And
I appreciate that. I mean, and your point around like how it's easier to help others than, kind of investing in ourselves. I wonder why that is. Why do people find it hard to do that? Because it's known. Yeah. Like I can give somebody else really easily advice, but then
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I kind of want to dig into that one too. It is an interesting one for sure.
Totally.
without a
And I
doubt.
mean, I wonder if part of it is the lack of tools. And I think, having a guidebook like The Full Potential, looking through it, there's so many different tools within it, contained in it.
Mhm.
And I feel like just not knowing some of them would be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, one of the things, so you jumped this off asking about some experiences of different people. In full transparency, I think one of the things that I've noticed with some people, not all people, but for some people, kind of going back to what we were saying, is that it's hard for them to reflect on themselves too. But there are tools when it does become hard that are given in the guidebook too, in terms of that self reflection. Like you can ask friends, you can ask family members. And I actually encourage people to go through this in groups as well, because not only is that helpful with the accountability piece, but it also can, if people meet say once a week after going through an hour each week in the guidebook, and they come together and they discuss what they've learned, they might even get even deeper levels and really good conversations
I'm just
that start happening.
imagining some cool Zoom groups forming where people are going through, because I'm guessing, you could just take digital versions of your guidebook.
Absolutely. And there is the digital version available as well as the hard copy.
Great. So what are folks saying? Like, what are some stories you're hearing from some of the readers? I know it's only been in the wild for a little bit here.
Yeah. So it's been really interesting. I've had life coaches that have been using it with clients, and they've it's been very successful. And again, it kind of goes back to also with those kinds of groups deepening the questions. So as they go through it, they're able to have their clients go through the process and then come together, and then the coaches are able to ask questions that are so much deeper, that takes them so many more levels into why they're feeling certain ways around the activity.
What's
So
like, what would be, I'm trying to think, like, what would be a question that a coach can find useful as they're going through with their clients, like, that you maybe heard that was useful?
yeah, gosh, I've talked, so Vekita Full Potential, we also have coaches, and we've put together a format in how we work with different clients as well. But we have discussed some of the points, and I'm trying to think what they were, because we did have a discussion around like certain activities and how we can have clients go so much deeper with the curriculum, or with the guidebook.
It's
So
almost like the framework itself too then is quite helpful. Maybe it's not necessarily like specific questions, or it's both then.
it's both. It's absolutely both. And people can go through it at their own pace in their own way as well. But let's say that one of their clients, so Kristen, who's one of our coaches, who has been using this with some of her clients, she actually works at SAP and was utilizing it within the client base as I was developing this, actually, the guidebook itself. And so I'm trying to think one of the activities that she did with one of her clients. Let's say that one of the activities was around skill sets, and that her client went and looked at all the different skill sets that they had and that they wanted to develop. And then Kristen can then, after her client had gone through activities, she could then ask more probing questions around skills, and already having a relationship established with this person and understanding some basic elements of who they are, how they can maybe widen or deepen those skills, or why they feel like that's good, or how they feel about certain things and what that's connected to.
Wow. I mean, and I love that. And what are the clients' feedback on that so far? Or maybe Kristen, is she finding it to be a useful tool?
Yeah, Kristen is. She absolutely is. And then individuals who have gone through it have found it incredibly helpful and very inspiring. And it's interesting because there are some clients that I didn't realize that the workbook would actually have people go so many levels deeper and actually open up things within them that were unexpected. Like I had one person who purchased the guidebook and I was in conversation with her and she's like, yeah, you have to do this thing of nurture and nature. And when she was going through the nurture, which you do a life map and you kind of indicate all these different significant moments that have happened throughout your life, she realized that she hasn't had the chance yet to grieve her father. And so there's like all these different, and then she gave space to be able to feel those feelings and go through that motion. So there's all these different levels that end up happening that were kind of unexpected. But for the most part, a lot of inspiration, a lot of people really excited about doing the activities and the congruency and fluid aspect of the guidebook.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know, I was, I guess, wondering also what is that nature versus nurture activity in a nutshell for
Yeah.
people?
Yeah, sure. So nature is really about your innate qualities that you're kind of born into. So you actually interview somebody that knew you as a child, and you talk about the qualities that you had as a child, as a baby or as a child, and then you look at how does that apply to who I am now. So, like for instance, my middle name is Serena, and my mom named me Serena because when she was pregnant with me, I was so quiet and serene. And still to this day, like I've been called, the calm within the storm when things happen, and people accidentally call me Serena versus Nicole because of my nature. So there are these inherent qualities that are within us. But then there's the different things that happen within our lives, and that goes into the nurture. So different significant things that can happen that can help shape you and make you who you are, and how, those shape you. So examining those different pieces and understanding how they both work together. It's not an either or.
I appreciate that. I mean, in terms of just recognizing the nature and nurture pieces of it, and it's great that people are getting insights out of it as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For,
Yeah. Oh,
mhm.
please go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I was just trying to think like, so you've got coaches, you've got, these readers, individuals that are finding it helpful as well. And I guess, yeah, what are some other types of individuals, or what are some surprises coming out for you from the
Yeah. Yeah.
stories?
Yeah, it's pretty cool because now that I've seen it in play, it really works with a broad spectrum of different types of people. So everything from students who are in college and about to graduate college and not sure what they want to do, to MBA students that have already gone through a cycle of understanding who they are, what they want to be doing by going into the world and coming back to school and trying to figure out their next step. And even retirees. So my mom's friend is going through it and she loves it. It's giving her a lot of purpose and direction with what it is that she wants to be doing. And also somewhat surprising is also there's entrepreneurs and companies that really love this because this is all about team building. And if you understand yourself, and that can make you a better team player, that this can be used within companies to uplift and engage with one another, and understand the different dynamics and how they can best work together.
That's cool. I mean, I appreciate how broad the spectrum of people are who are getting out of the value, and it's so rich in activities. This book, and I know when we were talking, I was like, well, could we try one of the activities? And you assigned me homework the past week or so. Do I have your permission? Maybe could we get into that a little bit?
Absolutely. The first thing that I'm going to have everybody do is close your eyes because there's something around being able to touch into feeling when your eyes are closed. It's hard when your eyes are open. I think that it's probably because there's so many different visual cues going on that you can like really close your eyes and sink into how you feel. So, with closing your eyes, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. And we are going to be looking at three different things in terms of your feeling. Do you feel energized? Do you feel neutral? or do you feel depleted? And that would be the three little faces that you saw on that worksheet as well. And those are incredible indicators in terms of what is your passion? What do you love doing? What inspires you? What is okay? And then what do you not like doing? Because that is going to be an indicator to, you probably don't want to be doing that because it's going to take you longer and you're not going to be as good at that. So maybe finding different ways to delegate some of those tasks, or work that maybe you can veer away from. So close your eyes and think about this past week. What is something that was really energizing for you?
Do you want me to
And
say it out loud, or you want me to just keep it to myself?
yeah, sure. Yeah, say it out loud.
I sold my home in San Diego. I thought that was a great victory.
That is a great victory. That's huge. Congratulations. And with your eyes closed, think about what was something that you really didn't like doing, that you just felt totally drained this past week. Okay, and what was that?
Well, I've got some work stuff going on that I'm really like negotiating stuff with, and that is very draining.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So understanding that those are two different pieces. So I'm gonna keep on going through these questions, but you don't have to answer them, just so that the viewers and listeners can think about where they're at in all of this. And so the next question that I have, I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer in time period to today. Think about today. What is one thing today that made you feel energized? And when you've got it, nod your head. Oh, you got it. Okay, great. Just give the listeners a little more time. And then thinking about today, what is one thing where you felt drained or depleted? All right, you got that. Great. Now let's now think about a past conversation. And this could be any point in time in your life. When have you had a conversation that was super engaging, where you just wanted to talk about it more, where you felt inspired, where you felt connected to that person? And remember what topic that was. This is also good for networking too, which is another topic that we talk about in the guidebook, but that's for another podcast. And then think about a conversation in which you couldn't wait for that conversation to end, where you were like, let me get away from this person. Not necessarily that it's the person themselves, but the conversation was like, oh my gosh, I just can't even. Okay, good. Now let's take it into a couple of other places. I have two other places I want to kind of play with this. One is, let's bring it to work life, because that's a big part of what Vekita Full Potential is about. So thinking about work, and this could be the broad spectrum of everything that you've done throughout your life. It doesn't have to necessarily be your current career. Think about, in your career, what were some activities that you loved, that you were excited about, that you would wake up and be like, yes, please, I can't wait to get this done. Or maybe that you didn't want to go to sleep because you were so busy like working on it and excited about it and wanting to knock things out. That was really inspiring, that you felt uplifted and you felt energized. And think about the different components that go into that? Did it have to do with interacting with people? Did it have to do with the actual work itself or specific skill sets? And now think about work life, and let's go to the opposite. Let's go to the opposite of what made you feel depleted, that you just did not want to do it. What were the elements that went into play around that? Great. And so the last piece that I want to talk about and have you experience as well is also talking about people, because the energized, neutral, depleted is a good indicator, not just for things, but also for interactions. And I'm going to flip it because this is the last one. I want you to end this with you feeling more energized than depleted. So I'm going to first ask around with people that you know, and who are people in your life, maybe even currently, that leave you feeling depleted. You have conversations and afterwards you're just like, whoa, okay. I need to chill out and do my own thing for a minute to bring my energy back. And then I'm also going to add into the friends piece. Who are some friends or family or coworkers, just people, who are some people that leave you feel neutral? You don't feel energized, you don't feel depleted, but you're more neutral. And then finally, who is someone that makes you feel uplifted and inspired and energized after conversations that you have with them? So the best thing to do is, after you've gone through this, or maybe for the listeners and watchers of this video, you can then hit pause and write down and make notes of all these different things. And you can open your eyes now. I want to hear about your experience, and also I want to just say that it's really important in looking at all these different pieces to indicate where you want to be spending your time. All of these pieces, whether it's friends, whether it's activities, whether it's work, whatever it is, all of this is indicators of where you can best place your time, and how you want to be designing your life. So the activity that you went through, in writing down these different pieces, is definitely a way to indicate those parts that make you really excited about life, or really kind of neutral or depleted, and where you want to be placing your time. It's a great indicator in terms of career and life alignment.
I appreciate that. And thanks for leading us through that as well. And I mean, I feel like walking out of it with a sort of a mental map of things, the three things you mentioned, depleted, excited, energized, and it's just helpful. And I feel like brain is so powerful, and just of being aware, it's taking its own mental notes.
Absolutely. When you just went through that, did you find anything that surprised you?
I think so. I mean, there are definitely like people made me more aware that, hey, those people might be depleting my energy, and just being more aware of that. And I think that was helpful as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate this. And then this is what is this activity called in the book?
Oh, what is this activity? I think this is under the work-life balance. I do believe so. So for those who are watching the video, this is the guidebook.
Love the beautiful cover.
Yeah, thank you. It was definitely designed with this generation in mind. All the other books out there in terms of career readiness are pretty dry, and a lot of reading too. So
Great.
75% reading and 25% activity, whereas mine is 25% reading and 75% activity, because you have to discover who it is that you are through doing, not through reading and having somebody tell us who we are.
I appreciate that. And, just how you said, 25% reading and 75% activity. So, just as we're wrapping up here, like how can folks get their hands on this? And I know you have an Instagram as well. What are those information?
Absolutely. So Vekita PD. So Vekita PD as in professional development.com. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, both of those is Vekita PD. And that's here. I can visually show for those who are watching. So Vekita. That's full potential though. Vekita PD. That's where you want to go.
Awesome.
Full potential is the guidebook.
Great. Well, it's very real, and I really appreciate this activity and just giving back. And yeah, I appreciated this a lot. So I'll include the links for listeners on the podcast. You can click on the links in the description to follow Nicole and get a copy of the guidebook.
Beautiful.
Right.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Hey everyone, thank you for listening. Please hit the subscribe button. We'll be back next week